Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday. My tree came. Do y'all like my tree? Is it not really freaking cool? Okay, do you get the vibe that I'm going for? Right? Do we kind of like I'm working. I know the chair's not the thing. We're working on. I also have this really cool painting up there that Gigi did me. Ooh, we're coming together. We are coming together. It is looking gorgeous. Thank you for being here. I am so excited. Spirit has been spiriting. So we're going to play another game. I have been getting really like seemingly random bits of info from Spirit, and it's been like something about one thing over here and another thing over there and another thing over there. And then none of it seems to like really go together in the way that I typically like for it to go together for me to make a video about it, right? Because there's no like smooth transition, there's no like overall theme. It's just a little bit of chaos. And so we're just rolling with it, which is actually one of the points that I am maybe going to talk about today. We'll see. We're leaving it up to the universe. So we are going to play tic tac toe, and we're going to go till either the X's or the O's win, or we talk about everything on the board. So let's go over the rules. I am going to go X turn, O turn, X turn, O turn, right? We'll just do boom, 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 and we will answer whatever the random generator comes up with. So all of the spaces I've loaded into the roulette wheel, and we'll just let the universe decide. If we get three X's in a row, if we get three O's in a row, then we'll be done. And if we just get what I guess I call a cat's game, that's what my grandparents taught me to call it. If nobody wins, then we will just talk about everything on the board. But I am going to do that free space, that middle space, personal Rebecca first. So that's going to count as either an X or an O, depending on however the board lies. As I'm saying that, I'm like, wait, Spirit, won't having the free space in the middle of like only 8 other spaces make it too easy for somebody to win? And Spirit's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. So if you are also thinking, wait, won't making the free space make it too easy? I said the same thing. You heard it from me. I said the same thing. So my apologies in advance if it is too easy, but we're just gonna see what they do with it. So let's start with personal Rebecca. And I want to tell you a story about when I went and hung out with the gods. And this is one of my favorite memories, but I haven't been able to say it because it's not like my information to give. However, when I was putting all of this together and I was like, hey, what can I talk about? What's a fun thing? This instance popped up in my brain, and I was like, but wait a second. I thought I couldn't talk about that because it's not my business. And I get it, right? Because Spirit has their own lives. They have their own things they're doing. Sometimes it's just not our business. And they said, well, it's not really the same way that it is now. So, excuse me, it's not the same way that it was. It's different now than it was before. So, I'm assuming it's okay to talk about because it has changed or moved or transformed, or just overall, that's not how they do it anymore. This was an experience that I had when I first really started working with the gods, when I first really started like diving deep into my human understanding of the gods, my soul's like connection and history with the gods, my like spirit Rebecca human self history with the gods. It was very, very complex, and it is very complex. I just the gods are busy right now, so nobody's exploring it with me because they're doing other things, which I get. But this is an experience that I had when I first really started diving into who I was as a bigger soul, as a fuller soul, outside of just spirit Rebecca. And this, I believe, to be a memory that I was being shown, a memory of the first time one of my fuller, higher selves, whatever you want to call her. I believe this was Hel, as in the Norse god of the underworld, Helheim. I believe this was Hel seeing Mount Olympus for the first time. And I want to share that with you. I want to explain it to you. I want to do my best to bring you into that vision with me. And I hope that I both do it justice and respect. And I hope that you really enjoy it. As I go through the story, please just keep in mind that, like, I don't think any of this is accurate anymore. I think it was accurate the time that it happened, of course. And I think it was even still kind of accurate when I was shown the memory of it. But I don't really think any of it's accurate right now, all the way to, I don't think that the gods themselves are who they were then. And what I mean by that is, if you've been following me for a while, sometimes I talk about like my fuller's changing, my higher's changing, or if I pop around to different like timelines and realities and weird stuff happening, like sometimes the spirits themselves can change. And as we've gone through this shifting, this newer, this collective consciousness upgrade, all of these things, as we've gone through all of these things, everything has changed. All the gods, I think, are also more powerful, more expanded, more upgrade, more than they were before. And so I don't think that it's fair to compare this story to any of the gods that you will, well, that I think we'll be experiencing soon. We'll put it that way. So let me set the scene for you. In this experience that I have, I believed, and I still do believe to a very different extent now, but I still do believe that being a god, especially in the way humans view them, is a job, like a job role that a spirit is saying, yes, I will fulfill the energy vortex, I will fulfill this need. It's a whole nother thing, right? So for the sake of this story, Hel had just become Hel. She had just become a goddess. She had just signed her contract, been given her sign-on bonus. It was time for her to start. And she was doing the thing. She was doing the goddamn thing, and she was good at it. Okay, she was very good at it. She was so good that she was having these visions. And now again, time is fake, timey-wimey. This is just a story, but she was having visions of Ragnarok, which is the Norse mythology end of the world. Very, very bad. The visions were end of the world, very, very bad. And so, of course, she's like, hey, we need to talk about this. And I'm assuming that's what she did. I believe Hel told Thor. Thor, I think, told Odin. Odin was like, y'all need to go tell Zeus. And then again, just trying to piece with my human brain together, I think what happened was Hel, Thor, and Loki were stepping into Mount Olympus. And that's kind of where this vision starts and where this vision kicks off, is just stepping through what I assume to be like a grand entrance or grand gates. And again, that's probably just a little bit of human filter that I do have, spirit kind of showing this to me in a way that my human brain can understand an entrance with gates, like a point of crossing, because we're really big on thresholds, we're really big on gates, right? So I'm probably getting all of this vision translated through a human filter, but again, the human filter being kind of as low as possible. So we step through these grand gates. I can't really see them, but I can feel that we are through the threshold. And then kind of off in the distance, but not super far away, like we're definitely walking there. Off in the distance, just a little bit, is just the top of Mount Olympus, because we're already, I'm assuming, on the mountain. And so the very top, which is like where I'm assuming Zeus's kind of throne room is also, because I can feel that's where we're going. So we're going over there. We're gonna see Zeus, I guess. And then kind of off over here, built into the mountain, is kind of like another door. I can feel there's energy there. I can feel there is more there. It's almost like we're going to the very top, the throne room, but there's a whole city. And again, city just seems so human. I don't think that city is the right word. I don't think that we have human words for exactly what I was experiencing. So there's other stuff over here. I can feel it, but we're going there. We are going to the throne room, and I am expected to explain to Zeus, who I've never met before, but now I'm going to his throne room. I'm expected to explain to Zeus how I saw the end of the world. Thankfully for human Rebecca, I was just along for the show. I was not in control. I was just watching. So I didn't need to talk to anybody. I didn't need to do anything, because that might have sent me at that point in time. But I'm just along for the show at this point. And so now fast forward to the vision of us being in the throne room. And the throne room is kind of hidden from my human brain a little bit. It kind of just comes in almost a generalized throne room-esque vibe that spirit has used for kind of like different seats of power situations. So for example, sometimes there will be archangels that, y'all know how I feel about angels. Okay, so just don't judge. Just, we listen and we don't judge. Okay, so sometimes there's like an archangel. The only way that I will listen to them is if they make a really big deal about it. And so they kind of have this generic throne room where it's like a long hallway and there's pillars, and the color of the hallway changes based on like if it's gold for angels, and sometimes it's like white for other things. So in this case, it is kind of just very dimly lit, because this is a generalized throne room, because it's not my business. However, what is very interesting is as I move through this generalized hallway, and we get closer and closer, all of a sudden I start to get more details. And so these are the details that I am able to give now, because I don't know what was happening behind me on my way up, but I do know that once I got to talk to Zeus, that's the part that they wanted me to know. That's the part that they wanted me to see. The whole point of the vision, probably, right, was the parts that are not hazy, the parts that are kind of more detailed, and they spend more time kind of figuring out the filters and how it translates, right? Because a lot of being a good like psychic medium is just knowing how to translate. It's knowing how spirit communicates with you, how you can communicate with them, and how each individualized spirit uses kind of signs and signals like this generalized throne room. And so I move through this very ominous hallway and I get closer to Zeus. And as I see it now, it is Zeus is high up. He's up on something. I can't really make out, but there's like levels. Have you ever seen kind of like a show where there's like all the judges up high and then there's like a pit and whoever is like talking to them is in the pit? It kind of feels like that. It's not a pit, but they're very high up. And Zeus, and I think there is a couple other gods and goddesses with him. I'm not going to name who they are because, again, things are changing and the story who is there is a little bit less irrelevant. They were big players. I'm pretty sure that Hera was there as well because this vision had almost been expected. Like they had been knowing that this was coming up and there was going to be some signs, and this vision was like basically one of the signs. And so it was a very big deal. And thankfully, like I said, human Rebecca was just along for the ride. So I wasn't feeling the anxiety, but Hell was feeling it a teeny tiny bit because she knew what this was big, and she knew that she was going to have a major role in whatever it was because she's getting the visions. Of course, she's going to be involved somehow. Um, but again, she was new. She was new to the job. She was new to all of it. She was new to being a goddess. And she had been there for a little bit. She had kind of gotten a little bit of her footing, but this was not only a very big deal, this was quite possibly the very big deal. And so Hell explained everything that she saw. She explained what she saw in the vision. She explained all of the kind of beings and the people and the gods that were involved. And from that point on, I don't have kind of exact details of how things went down because, again, time is very timey-wimey. Time is fake. Time is a filter. Time is sometimes irrelevant, sometimes very, very important. So I believe that Ragnarok has both already happened and that things also happen in a cycle. And so it's possible that it could happen again in a cycle. It's possible that we could access the point in time where it has already happened. We could access the point in time as if it was already happening. We could even dare to believe that we could change it completely. So let's keep going because Dare to Believe is one of the tic tac toes. Let's see if we talk about it. Okay, so there are 8 spaces, 8 subjects, whatever you want to call them. Let's spin. Let's see what we're going to talk about. Astral jobs. I'm so happy. I added this one because I really wanted to talk about it and it didn't get landed on last week. So I am so ready. Let's go. I think that X's typically go first. I don't know. I normally play X's go first. So Astral Jobs is an X. And like I said, I'm really excited because this is something that I kind of expect to see come up a little bit more as we all our possibilities expand and our capabilities expand and who we are expands as we all see this shift into new earth. So I think that we are likely to start experiencing things in a different way, in a more intense way, or in a brand new way. And I think that astral jobs in general is probably going to be one of those ways. So let me tell you what I mean when I say astral jobs. Astral jobs is another really big umbrella term that I use to kind of cover basically anything that you're doing in the astral on the regular, anything that really like is part of your quote unquote job. Either typically while you go to sleep, sometimes during the day, sometimes as you're just out and about. There's a lot of different types of jobs, and we all honestly probably do a whole bunch of different types of jobs, but some tend to be more noticeable to our human than others. Dreams is a really big one that I see probably the most often. Now, every time you have a dream, is this what's happening? Absolutely not. Dreams are very complex. I am not a dream expert. This is just something that I have noticed happening in people that come and talk to me, in kind of investigations that I do for different spirit things and trying to find out answers. This is just one thing that I have learned. I am not a dream expert. But I have noticed that a lot of times when people have reoccurring themes in their dream, and I'm not talking about like all your teeth always falling out, but when you are constantly helping people cross over to another side, when you're constantly in war zones, when you are constantly fighting battles, when you are constantly doing a general theme in very different circumstances or even in very similar circumstances, like maybe you're a scientist in astral somewhere. Those kinds of big themes in different situations, in different areas, in different labs even, oftentimes you're tapping into just what I call the astral job. Now, while you're sleeping, a couple different things can happen. More than a couple, of course. But again, the most common things that I see happening is either you are just tapping into another version of yourself that is doing this as their full-time life, or while we sleep, part of our spirit can travel, can go out, right? Like I feel like even muggles, I hate saying that, but even people who aren't like spiritually active, even the mundane, even the muggles, they know these things that you can go out in your sleep, you can connect with things in your sleep, right? Prophecies of dreams and connecting with past loved ones, right? We go and we do things in our sleep. Sometimes what we do in our sleep is like our job for our human spirit sometimes. So maybe human Rebecca's spirit has to go report what she sees as a human, right? Like that's something that my specific human Rebecca spirit has to do while they're sleeping. That's like an astral job. But another astral job could be maybe she's a scientist, right? Maybe I have a version of me out there that is always a scientist. That's her full-time life. That's what she's doing. She's probably on a spaceship somewhere because duh, I don't know, why not? And I'm just tapping into her. Maybe she's close in vibration. Maybe she's close in connection. Maybe in proximity. Maybe she's floating right above my house. And it's just easy to tap into her. And so those are generally the two biggest things that I see happening when we have these reoccurring kind of astral job themes in our dreams. It's either something that our human spirit is doing on the regular, or it's something that we're connecting to for whatever reason. But not all of our astral jobs happen while we're sleeping. So the other big way that I see people doing these astral jobs, which is again just a big umbrella term, another way that I see people doing these astral jobs is during their waking life. Their human spirit or part of their human spirit will do astral things. So for example, maybe human Rebecca has this little human Rebecca spirit in her, right? And the human Rebecca spirit, while I am sleeping, might go off and report everything that human Rebecca has seen, right? But I don't have to just wait while I'm sleeping to do that. Sometimes we do that during the day. Sometimes we go off and we report during the day. And when I say report could be any number of things. Sometimes it is walking through a field of like a certain type of tree and you just pull in and clean all of the old energy off of that tree. Sometimes it's going through certain areas on your drive home and just kind of unconsciously checking on the beings, the energy, the animals. Maybe you are a caretaker for a certain area and you don't even realize that's why you want to go there. You don't even realize that's why you take that way home. So there are a number of things that we as humans do with our astral selves, with our spirit selves, with our human spirit self. I know it's very loop-de-loop, but however it's easiest to think about it, there's a lot of things that we as a human do for astral as a quote unquote astral job. And I do suspect that the more we shift into this new energy that allows for possibilities that weren't allowed for before, the more we have realms crossing over and like the veil breaking down and people crossing between veils, the more we shift into wherever we are going, as wonderful and as scary that it might be, the more I think we're going to see these kinds of just wild things coming up. And for example, I keep saying this, but I'm going to say it again, right? We just all accept that there's ghosts now. We just all accept that we all probably do or will have a ghost at some point because they're so common. And people's eyes are kind of just opening up and their boundaries, their fear are kind of coming down because sometimes it's fear that makes that barrier, it's fear that makes that boundary, fear of the unknown, fear of things that we don't understand, fear of things we can't control. And so we're kind of just, as a collective, yeah, there's ghosts. Oh, cool. Yeah, Ethel's at it again. She's helping him with his diet. Like, this is wild. And we, as a collective society, are just like, yeah, that makes sense. So I think that we're going to have crazy, wild, yeah, that makes sense moments with a whole bunch of different types of astral jobs and probably things that are brand new that I've never seen before that quite possibly couldn't and didn't exist before. So I hope you're ready, but y'all are amazing and you're probably doing all of these things right now, whether you know it or not. So just because you're aware of it doesn't mean you're going to mess it up, doesn't mean you're going to do anything bad. Being aware of it just means that you can learn about it, that you can put more conscious energy and effort into it, and that you can make a bigger difference in not just your life, not just Earth, but as a collective consciousness in this kind of realm that we're all moving into together. Okay, I've taken astral jobs off of the wheel. They've just doubled up some of it so it fills in. Chaos, yes, y'all know. Y'all know I love me some good chaos. Okay, chaos is O's. Let's set our board up and then we'll get into it. Okay, here it is. Chaos is the O's. So here's the thing about chaos, and here's the thing that makes chaos so hard, that kind of gives it a bad name. Chaos is the nothingness that everything is born from. And that is the definition of chaos that made me fall in love with it. Because in that, I saw the beauty in the dark things. I saw the beauty in the things that are bad, that are grief and death. and breaking down and losing it all. Those are things that are so quote unquote terrible, and they really truly do feel like your world is spinning out, but it is the nothingness that comes from that spinning out that allows for the growth. It is that nothingness that we need as the catalyst into the future. I can say honestly and truly, without any exaggeration, that my life is very possibly one of the most chaotic that you will ever encounter. And it's not on purpose. I'm quite literally just trying to live my life. I'm quite literally just trying to exist. All of my decor by my front door says, please leave me alone. It says, please go away. There's no reason for you to be here. I will sacrifice you to the old gods. Go away, right? Like, I'm just trying to live my life, truly and truly live my life. And the chaos finds me to the point where I tell people something that's happened and they're like, yeah, that makes sense for you. What am I talking about? I'm so glad you asked. So we moved from Texas to Pennsylvania, bought a huge black trailer, the kind that you literally tow like sports cars and race cars. Bought a huge black trailer, loaded all our stuff in it, bought a white truck with a rebuilt engine that was strong enough to pull the trailer from Texas to PA. Okay, load it all up. I won't even talk about what happened before we left. I won't even get into it. Okay, we're just talking about from the time we hit the road to the time we got here and a little bit that we learned after. Okay, so first day, blow a tire on the trailer. That took out the whole first day. Second day, another tire on the trailer. My husband changed it himself this time, was very speedy about it. Cool, 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 back on the road. Truck breaks down in Knoxville, Tennessee. Truck engine starts knocking. And knocking. It is what it is, okay? So we have to stay there for the night, get into a diesel mechanic. Do you know how hard it is to find a diesel mechanic? It's okay. There was actually a very well known diesel mechanic very close to it. Had the truck towed to the diesel mechanic. The mechanic said, ooh, you're going to need yeah. Okay. Rent another truck. Rent another truck. Pull the trailer all the way to Pennsylvania. Drive the very expensive, very tough business truck back to Tennessee. Drive a different rental back to Pennsylvania. Get the truck from Tennessee to Pennsylvania. They go to replace the engine, which we have to buy a brand new engine for, and the rebuilt engine has the words, quote, sorry, with a smiley face, end quote, on the engine with everything put in backwards, with all of the silicone holding things in place. And then simultaneously, somebody steals my husband's social security number, opens a credit card on Finger Hut, orders a woman's gold bracelet, sends it to our house in Texas, steals it before anybody else can get there. Yeah, quite literally just trying to live my life, quite literally just trying to move to a safer place. And the chaos is abound. Hopefully for you guys, that type of thing is extreme and very rare. For me, it's like quite literally every quarter. I don't understand it, but it's literally to the point where people are like, yeah, that makes sense for you. Okay, this is where we am. I'm just trying to live my life. All of my decor by my door says go away. There's no reason for you to be here. I will sacrifice you to the old gods. Please leave. Yet the chaos still keeps finding me. But here's the thing that I have learned, because again, this has been in my entire life. The thing that I have learned is that all of that is energy that is moving out, and it is moving out hard and fast, because of course it is, because it's me. Of course it is. Of course we're doing things the hard way because I'm stubborn and because I want to be impatient, and that's just who I am. And that's how we are. Okay, so the energy is moving out strong and fast and hard, but in that it is making space for the nothing. In it moving out, it is making space for the potential. And if I don't have space for the potential, I cannot create any of the things that I want to create. The things that I want will not come to me, will not be able to find their path. They could be held off. They could all be right here building up and just held off because there is no space in your life, in your home, in wherever you are trying to manifest something. You have to have space. And it is that chaos that we make space. It is the chaos that gives us that space. And it is one of the hardest things that we will have to do in our lifetime, and we have to do it over and over and over again. Let go of these things that are preventing what we want from coming in. Let go of the ideas that we have, of the ideals we thought we needed, of all of the ideas that are holding us back. And realizing what we need to let go of is probably the biggest hurdle in this, because how do you realize something that you don't know anything other than that? How do you realize that heavy weight on your chest from being financially insecure your entire life when you have never known financial security? How do you feel different when you are never experienced anything different? It is so tricky. It is one of the hardest places to be. And sometimes Spirit, the universe, picks our entire life up and shakes it so that the things that need to fall, the things that need to come up, the things that we need to see in front of us to release and to deal with fall in front of us to do it so that we can move forward, so that we can get to where we want to be. And y'all, the chaos is rough. I fucking get it. I get it so much, so much. But there is a beauty in it, and there is beauty on the other side of it. And there is potential for things that we probably can't even dream possible yet on the other side of this chaos. And that is true for everything. That is true for our lives, our personal lives, our shadow work. It is true for everything happening outside in the political atmosphere right now. Things get worse before they get better. And we have to make that space, because it is in that space, it is in that nothingness that everything is born from. Okay, I'm going to stop there because one of the other subjects is manifesting, and I want to talk about making space for the energy and moving out in that area. So fingers crossed, let's see what we get next. Why I ask for definitions, not manifesting, but still important. This one I felt like was really important to talk about this week because I did feel this really like exciting shifting, opening up, stepping into moment. And I'm fingers crossed hoping that that means that we are through this kind of like holding phase, this holding period where it's kind of just like, yeah, practice, wait, shadow work. I'm really fingers crossed hoping that that means things are going to start moving forward. We're going into spring. We're going into rebirth. All of the seasons have changed. Fingers crossed. Have they fooled me before? Yes. Will I be fooled again? Yes. Because like I said, I'm just stubborn and I refuse to listen, but here we are. So fingers crossed. We are going to be seeing some new stuff coming up. And I want to emphasize how important it is that when you talk to spirit, when you talk to other people, it is important that you guys know you're saying the same thing. So that is what I mean by why I ask for definitions. Let me give you an example. I'm going to use the example of timelines, realities, and dimensions. And I know that seems like that's 3 examples, but really it's kind of all like into one big circle. We're just going to put a little umbrella over it as the example, because this has been something that I have been through over and over and over again with spirit. And I want you to apply kind of the situation that I am talking to with spirit on a human point of view too, because asking for definitions, making sure you're on the same page, both with a spirit is like, hello, huge, of course, but also with humans, right? And I think that's part of why we have so much discourse within the community as a whole. There are a ton of reasons why. And not all the reasons are human reasons, okay? But one of the reasons I think is because we have different understandings, different definitions for the same words. And so we are not agreeing because we think we're saying one thing and the other person thinks they're saying one thing. And we could be arguing when really we're saying the same thing because we're not understanding what one person means by this one word or that one word. So really take this wonderful situation, this wonderful umbrella example that I'm going to explain between me and spirit, and apply it in all of these situations. Apply it in your human situations, apply it in your human relationships, but please, please, please also apply it in any new spirit that comes in, any new guides, gods, higher selves, fuller selves, training. Please, please, please ask them for definitions when they are telling you things, when they're explaining to things, ask to be shown, ask to experience. Like, please make sure you are on the same page and you are asking again and again and again what you think you already know, because that is going to not only make sure that you guys are on the same page, but that's also going to help develop that full, what I call that 360 view of whatever the subject is. Timelines, realities, and dimensions are one of those things that I have always consistently had been on the struggle bus about. We'll just put it that way, because it's one of those things where I have found there are a ton of definitions all over the place, and all of them in one way, shape, or form can be true. And so really like nailing down where timelines end and reality starts and where reality ends and dimension starts was really, really hazy for me for a long time. And so for a very long time, I was just going by whatever the definition the other person was giving me, so that for the sake of us communicating, we were saying the same thing. We were speaking the same language, right? And I didn't really teach about it. I didn't really talk about it. I just kind of went along and been like, hey, maybe I'm just not supposed to know. Maybe this is just one of the things that I will find out later down the road. And I actually did. So one of the reasons that Spirit would not give me definitions and lines and explanations is because I was supposed to learn down the line once the energy was ready, once I was ready. I was supposed to not just learn, but I was supposed to experience the difference between timelines, realities, and dimensions. And in that experience was where I would learn where the lines were drawn. And that was it was a very wild experience. I really don't know if I would recommend it. It was very traumatic for me, spirit wise. It was very wild, but I do really still, I don't think I'll ever forget that experience. And it was essentially when spirit picked me up off of what they called a timeline planet and put me on a new timeline planet. I essentially shifted timelines in such a big way that some of my fullers had shifted and all of this other wild, crazy stuff had shifted. So when they finally did give me the definition of realities, timelines, and dimensions, it was not only the definition of those three, but it was a full on like spirit 360 lesson. Like it took me weeks. Okay. And then I made a whole like course about it and I did all of these amazing graphics about it and it was phenomenal. And I was really into it. But of course, what happened? Everything changed. Everything keeps changing. Nothing is the same. And I'm not even trying to understand full 360 views yet because I was, and then they would change and then I would start again and then they would change. So I'm rolling with it. We're rolling with the chaos. But of course, timelines, realities, and dimensions have changed again. What the fuck? Let me explain. If you are newer to my videos, I apologize because we are going down like a couple years long journey with this. But I had not understood, I had blurry lines, and then I had a huge 360 definition of timelines, realities, dimensions, timeline, planet, all of these crazy stuff, overseers, and how like umbrellas. It was insane. I made a phenomenal 90s graphic about it, and now everything is changing again. And if you remember, again, I apologize if you are newer here, but I mentioned a few videos ago, I don't know, time is fake, that all of the individual timelines were combining, that they were combining into kind of one thick ribbon-like timeline. So before we had a lot of individual timelines, you can think about them as like really thin pieces of thread. And sometimes threads were all bunched together to make a piece of cord, and sometimes it was just a thread. However, with all of the like quote unquote new earth shifting and the changing in consciousness, all of that, all of our threads have come together into kind of like a long ribbon instead. And so we don't have all of these crazy individual timelines anymore. We have more so a localized timeline. I don't know how to explain it. Hopefully you're bearing with me, okay? But now we have a localized timeline, and that completely redefines the definition of timelines and realities because with that localized timeline, I am again seeing where timelines end and where realities start kind of just to blur to the point where I almost don't feel like timelines and realities are going to be two separate things for very long. And it's one of the really, really big reasons why I always say double check what you think you know. Always double check what you think you know because things can always change and spirits can have different definitions. So I used to think of timelines as being like generally our individualized timelines. And then realities were things that affected everybody. So, for example, Trump is president is in the reality category, okay? And then from there, we have dimensions where it's possible for kind of different beings to come in and out. We're talking like 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, those types of dimensions, right? Where different things are crazy possible, huge other dimensions, huge other like ways of viewing the reality of the universe of all of these things, like mind altering, mind bending, like reality shifting things were in the dimension category. Also in the reality category, right? Because if aliens step forward, that's a reality shifting thing too. But now I am seeing just essentially realities being blurred where we have some areas, kind of localized areas, maybe a spot in the woods, maybe a road crossing where the veil is maybe a little bit thin or the veil is maybe gone completely and we see some fae step through. And maybe they don't step through and maybe everybody doesn't see them with their human eyes, but they step through on an astral plane, on a reality that's just a little bit different than ours, right? If we vibrate here, maybe they step through here. And if you can bring your consciousness just a little bit higher and they're maybe just a little bit lower, you can kind of meet in the middle. So there are so many things that are just blurring all of the lines of the timelines, realities, and dimensions that I thought I understood before. So again, this is just one reason why, of course, we always double check what we think we know, but please ask for definitions because definitions can change depending on where you are on Earth right now, depending on where you are in the universe, but depending on what vibration you're sitting on, depending on what you are open or not open to. Definitions are very pliable. So please, please, please double check what you think you know and ask for definitions. Okay, let's keep going. We're spinning for O this time. Let's see what we're going to get. Manifest. Yes, perfect. Okay, manifest. Manifesting did give the kind of O player 3 in a row with that free space, so this will be the last one. I will see if I can just make a part 2 to answer the rest of the questions because I do really want to talk about this stuff. In fact, I titled today's topic "Things I Want to Talk About Today," so maybe I will make a part 2. We'll just kind of see how it plays out. But by the point that I get done talking about manifesting, it will definitely be our normal stopping time. So let's jump into it. Manifesting is one of those things where I could talk about it every week and we could hit a different topic about it every single week because there is so much involved. And honestly, there's so many ways that you can manifest. It's actually really exciting, but it can be, again, really, really difficult because if we look at manifesting in terms of getting rid of that energy, making space, obviously all of the chaos stuff that we talked about, all of that breaking down, all of that making of the nothingness so that everything can be born, it's really fucking hard, right? So I want to talk about some like less tricky, less deep shadow work, if shadow work at all. So, because sometimes it's really just about cleaning your space and making more room. But I'll talk about less intense shadow work and kind of other more mundane things that you can do to encourage your manifestations. So the first thing is literally just making space. And this can look like so many different things. Sometimes it's literally like cleaning out your garage. If you want a new car, you want to put it in the garage, clean out the garage. Give the space for the car to exist there, and then it'll be easier for the car to get to you. Sometimes it looks like losing a job before you get your dream job. This has happened to me before. I have literally been fired from the job, one of the only jobs I've gotten fired from, and then hired my dream job same day, which was wild. So there's literal cleaning of the space, and then there's like figurative outside yourself cleaning of the space, and then we have our shadow work cleaning of the space. And then there's also just general energy flow, which I am mentioning the general energy flow because I have talked about it on past videos, and I do have a whole manifesting video as well. So if you want to learn how I see energy in terms of manifesting, check those out. But in terms of just clearing space, sometimes we have to clear the space in our body too. Sometimes we've done all of the like emotional, mental, psychological work, and we just need to clear that space in our body. And this is where a lot of like somatic exercises and dancing and just like sex and even marijuana THC has helped me clear space a lot because it helps my body relax enough. It helps me feel safe enough where my nervous system isn't triggered all of the time to release the things. Because what happens sometimes, what I didn't learn till far too late, but I'm so happy I learned now. But what I didn't learn is that when my body wanted to release things, when they wanted to release things from, say, my childhood, it would come up and I would get either a slight feeling, a slight memory, a slight smell out of nowhere, and it would trigger my nervous system. And I would go into this kind of fight or flight. And I would stay there and I would have no idea why I was there and I have no idea what triggered it. And that nervous system being triggered immediately represses all of the things that wants to be released. So I am not telling you how to release. I am saying there are so many different areas in our life, some personal to us, some outside of ourselves, some physical, some shadow worky, some somatic body, some body keeps the score. So many different places to clear energy to be able to make room for other things to come in. Now, sometimes that happens where you have cleared the space. The space is there, the space is available, and nothing is showing up. And sometimes this is more about us, and sometimes it's not about us at all. Sometimes there is things that we're missing, that we're not recognizing, that we're not ready for. In a lot of cases, I will tell people the worst thing that you could get, generally we're talking about relationships, the worst thing that you could get is the right person at the wrong time. It is devastating when you find the quote unquote right person, but you are not emotionally ready for that relationship. You are not healed enough, or they're not healed enough. You're not in a place where you can focus on the relationship. Maybe you're focusing on career or school. There's so many things that timing is just going to be the make or break of the situation. And sometimes we are just waiting on the timing. Sometimes we're waiting for other people to be ready. So I see this with the temple. I'm building these 101 classes and I am so close. I can taste it. I am so excited, but I don't have everybody yet. And I don't know who I'm missing, but I know that they're coming and I know I'm waiting for them and they are so close. I can taste it. And the people that are showing up are phenomenal. But y'all, I have the space. I have the availability. I have people quite literally just waiting to say, go, it's time. And I'm just waiting. The space is there, but it is not about me at this point. I am providing a service for other people and I need what's best for everybody else. And so I'm going to wait for these people to come, even if it means slowing things down a little bit, even if it means me getting with spirit being like, what is going on? Let's get this moving. Sometimes it really just comes down to waiting and being patient. And I know that's hilarious coming from me. I know that's hilarious coming from me, but I really do. If I am telling you to be patient, if I'm saying let the energy settle, if I'm saying it's just not time, y'all, I mean it because it's coming from me. I am so impatient and so stubborn and it's so quick and hard and fast. And I need things now and I need him to appear now. And if I am saying just sometimes you have to wait because it is better, it is because I have learned it firsthand from experience. Sometimes we just have to wait for things to line up so that we can be given the things that we are asking for. When you are manifesting, it is always a good idea to give that energy, that manifestation, multiple pathways to get to you. And this looks like, for example, if we're talking about money, right? If we want financial security, financial abundance, we want freedoms that come with money, I'm not just putting all of my hopes and dreams into one basket. I am trying to open up as many pathways and as many avenues as possible to let that money get to me. And of course, on a human level, we're doing this. We're working like 2-3 jobs. We're grinding. We're having side hustles. We're pinching pennies. Like, of course, on a human level, we're doing this. But you can also kind of open it up on a spirit level too, on an energetic level, because maybe that financial abundance doesn't look like cash. Maybe it looks like having help. Maybe it looks like having a community. Maybe it looks like feeling supported. Maybe it looks like just having a day where a friend lets you take a nap, right? So we have to have multiple avenues and be open to multiple different types of things, multiple energies, multiple experiences, and not just have this one idea, this one concept in our brain of what that manifestation is going to look like. So if you can have multiple avenues open, I want abundance, I want security, I want to feel supported. That gives so many more openings, so many more chances for all of that to get to you. That is not just cash. That's not just money. That's not just a paycheck, right? And I stuck myself in this pinhole. I have to have a paycheck. I have to earn money for so long until I hit the point where I was like, no, I deserve money. I just want money. Here it comes. Here's my money. I'm waiting for it. And sometimes it's just that little bit of like chaos energy, that little bit of, why do I think this? Let me burn it down. Let me make space for something new. Sometimes that is enough to spark entire life changes. And we don't realize that at the time. We don't realize when we say, well, wait a second. No, fuck that. We don't realize that that little bit sparks an entire change. And that is truly the beauty of the breaking down, of the chaos, of the questioning, of creating the nothingness, because the creation of the nothingness is the hardest part. And once we have that space, once we have that availability, once we know we can taste it and we can feel it, then we can have the potential of everything that we've ever wanted. We are almost out of time. We are out of time, but I'm just going to rapid fire some other manifestation tips, tricks, whatever, because I feel like we deserve it. Places that I recommend you clean when you're trying to make space. I'm talking about like physically cleaning. So you want to clean any place that you spend the majority of your time. So I'm talking cars, living rooms, bedrooms, offices. For me, my kitchen is a really, really big manifesting place for me. I love to cook. I try to be really mindful with my cleaning. I be really mindful with everything that I'm doing, especially in the kitchen. Especially in the kitchen, I'm trying to slow down and be mindful. And so I am really particular specifically about my kitchen, about my bedroom, about my showers and my bathrooms, because I do a lot of shower meditating, because I have to find a way to fit that meditation into my crazy nonsense life. And a lot of times it's just having a couple minutes in the shower. And so the places where I spend majority of my time, where I'm really conscious, really connecting, really putting effort in, those are the places that I'm going to clean first. I also really recommend cleaning your fridge. Duh, good things come from your fridge, your pantry, your brownies, wherever good things come from. Clean that place up, give that really good energy. Also, emotional release tapping. What is it? Emotional freedom tapping, EFT, emotional freedom tapping is very, very good for releasing stored energy in the body, but also for kind of dismantling those like belief systems that we have in place. Like, I have to earn money. No, I deserve money, right? And if I want to make that switch, this emotional freedom tapping is very, very helpful. And again, anything somatic, anything that I like to call bottom energy, your dancing, your sex, your like movements and your freedoms, these are all releasing and getting flowing and doing things and just kind of helping that old energy to get out. And if you do it with intention, if you do it with the magic that you are, if you do it knowing the power that you are with the intentions that you hold, those little things, again, can make really, really big life-changing differences. It just can be hard to notice when we're just doing the little thing. When I'm sitting here going like this, it's hard to know if this tapping is the thing that's going to give me emotional freedom, is going to give me financial freedom in the future, right? It's how am I going to know that? But you have to trust the process. And more importantly, you have to trust yourself. Okay? Trust yourself, be kind to yourself, and just do your best to get through this week. If all you do at the end of the day is take a deep breath and go to bed, that's enough. Go to bed and do it all again the next day. And it is enough if that is all you can do. Remember that self-care is a form of protest. Remember that rest is a form of protest. Not losing yourself is a form of protest. We got this. We're a community. We are not alone in this. We are going to do phenomenal things this week. We're going to manifest everything: financial abundance, freedom, sex, drugs, whatever you want, rock and roll. Have an amazing week.